Welcome back, guys, to the No Death Run through Battletoads and Double Dragon, the Ultimate Team for the NES. We are now about to start Stage 5. The setting for Stage 5 takes place on top of a missile that's headed for Earth. However, this stage always kind of reminded me more of like a space shuttle than a missile. The missile is being piloted by Robo-Manus, who will be the boss of this stage, which is just another reason why it makes me think of this as more of a space shuttle. It's got doors all over it, it's being piloted, you see these thrusters here and there, and then after you finish the stage, you see it crash land back on Earth and it doesn't explode. So yeah, this stage just reminds me a lot more of a space shuttle than a missile, but I guess missiles are a little cooler than space shuttles. As you can see here, you'll see more enemies that are from the Battletoads universe, like these rat enemies. You'll also have to fight General Slaughter a few times throughout the stage, but we'll get to that whenever we get to that. I really like the music that plays in this stage. It's my favorite song in the entire game. I especially like the way how the song starts out at the very beginning of the stage. Just a really good piece of music in my opinion. Alright, time for our very first battle against General Slaughter. The best strategy that I've found to use against him is to pin him up against the left wall. After you've done that, walk to the right a little bit to create some distance between the two of you. While you're trying to do that, he'll probably try to ram into you. After he's tried to do that, dash attack him a couple times to pin him back up against the left wall. Then just rinse and repeat. After you defeat a General Slaughter, crack open the crystal container and get some health. Throughout Stage 5, you're going to come across a lot of thrusters, and if you touch any of the flames even one time, they're going to instantly kill you. So do your best to memorize the pattern of the flames before you try to do anything. That way you can make sure to avoid them, because like I said, they're instant death and you don't want that. After you take out this small group of ninjas, you'll have to face a couple more of the dynamite-throwing enemies that you saw in Stage 2. Just fight them the same way that you did in Stage 2, wait for them to throw a stick of dynamite, then pick it up and get a distance away, then throw the dynamite back at them. They each go down with just one stick of dynamite, so they shouldn't be too hard to take out. And there we go! You'll have to dodge a couple more of these thrusters. Like I said before, be very careful whenever you're avoiding them because you don't want to get hit by the flame because it's instant death. Alright, time for our second round against General Slaughter. Basically fight him the same way that you did in round 1. Dash attack him a couple of times and then run away from him to create some distance between the two of you. Most likely while you're trying to get away from him, he'll try to charge at you. Whenever he's done that, just dash attack him a couple more times. Rinse and repeat. You got a lot more room to work with this time around. If you want an extra life, then break open that container at the top. Otherwise, don't worry too much about it. I always thought that it was kind of weird how this stage wasn't split into parts for each battle against General Slaughter. I mean, I figured after you fought him the first time, then you'd be at Stage 5-2, then after you beat him the second time, you'd be at Stage 5-3, so on and so forth, but that's not the case at all. I just find it kind of strange that they didn't do it like that. I figured that's how they would have done it. It's not a big deal, though. Kind of like these ninja enemies. Basically what they'll do is they'll jump out from wherever they're hiding, then they'll throw a shuriken, then they'll start cartwheeling all over the place before jump attacking you or kicking you from the air or whatever. Basically just avoid their shuriken, then dash attack them one time to take them out. Easy enough. Throughout this area, you'll have a mix of the mutant rat type enemies, the ninja enemies, and the dynamite throwing enemies. Keep an eye out for the ninja-type enemies because they like to bust through the windows and they'll start attacking immediately, which can be kind of troublesome if you're in the middle of fighting some of the mutant rats. So keep an eye out for them and dash attack them immediately whenever they show up. Another advantage that the dragons have over the toads in this game is that they have a better aerial attack. Whenever you attack in the air with the dragons, they'll do a kick, whereas whenever you attack in the air with the toads, then they'll start to do their punches. The biggest difference is that the kick will actually knock enemies down, whereas the toad's punches will just start their combo prematurely. So yeah, overall the dragons definitely have the better aerial attack for sure. Like I said before though, the advantages that the dragons have over the toads aren't that big a deal honestly, so basically just pick whoever you want to play as whenever you go through this game. We got just one more dynamite throwing enemy here. That piece of dynamite blew up prematurely it seemed. Kinda weird, but oh well. Alright, time for round 3 against General Slaughter. If you need some health, go ahead and get it, then go back down the ladder and enter the door and get ready to fight. Basically just use the same strategy that you've been using against General Slaughter. Keep him against the left wall, avoid his charge, and then just pin him right back up against the left wall. Simple enough. The crystal container in this room contains health, but I'd recommend waiting until you absolutely need it to get it, obviously. Or if you defeated General Slaughter, then quickly get it even if you're only missing like one block of health or so. Every little bit counts. As you can see for round 3 against General Slaughter, you're back in one of the smaller rooms, but that's not that big a deal. Alright, he is now down and out, and that is the last time we'll be fighting him. From here on, we're going to be going inside of the ship, and we'll be throwing enemies outside through the glass. It's pretty cool looking, actually. You'll get to see it, though. The finishing blow in your character's combo depends on where you're at. If you're lined up with the glass pretty well, then your character will pick up the mutant rats and throw them through the glass. But if you're not quite lined up with it, then your character will just end their combo like they normally would, either with a roundhouse kick or a large fist, one of the two, depending on your character, of course. As soon as we've defeated all the rest of these mutant rats, we'll just have one more set of thrusters to go through, and then we'll beat the boss of this stage. The boss of this stage is Robo-Manus, like I said earlier. We'll get to that whenever we get to that, though. Just avoid this last thruster, and here we are. In my opinion, the best strategy for Robo-Manus is basically just to juggle him around his arena. So long as he's not standing on the ground, he won't attack you. Be kind of careful, though, because if he lands on you, it will damage you. If you let him stand too long, then he'll start firing lasers, so be as quick as you can and try not to let him get his lasers off. The lasers do quite a bit of damage, too. So yeah, like I said, I think that the best strategy in this entire fight is to keep juggling Robo-Manus. And once again, just be careful not to let him land on you. And don't let him stand too long either, otherwise he will fire lasers off. So yeah, just be quick and keep juggling him, and Robo-Manus will be down and out in no time. From here we have two more stages to go through, but they're basically just stages that were designed for the Shadow Boss and for the Dark Queen. They do have a couple of thugs in them, but not very many. They're just really short stages that, once again, were basically just designed for the Shadow Boss and the Dark Queen. I really like that you actually see the Shadow Boss moving around in the background throughout this stage. That's a really nice little effect in my opinion. I really like the music in this stage. It's just so intense and really gets you pumped up to fight the Shadow Boss. If you want some power-ups throughout this stage, then jump up and grab onto the lamps and then kick them down. Once you've kicked them down, destroy the blue part of the lamp and it'll make a power-up come out. This stage is also your last opportunity to use some beating sticks, so be sure to use them if you want to. This will be your last chance, like I said. The lamp that you see directly above me has health in it, so if you need any health, then go ahead and break that one down. There are a couple of lamps that I'd recommend not breaking because they can be kind of helpful in the battle against the Shadow Boss, but I'll point them out whenever we get to them. One thing that I find kind of interesting about Battletoads and Double Dragon is that some levels are 2.5D, whereas other levels are just strictly 2D. What I mean by that is that in some levels you can actually move up and down and go all over the place, whereas in other levels you can only duck if you press down. Just kind of interesting, I think. This next group of thugs can be instantly jackhammered into the ground, so they're really easy. The lamp that you see directly above me right now is one of the two lamps that I'd highly recommend that you do not destroy because it can be really helpful in the battle against the Shadow Boss. Speaking of the Shadow Boss, here he is. I really like that you see him coming towards you from the background like that, just so cool. He has three different things that he'll try to do to you. He'll either teleport next to you and start comboing you, which if he does that, then button mash the attack button to try to break out of his combo. He'll also occasionally curl up into a ball and try to ram into you. Just time it right with a dash attack to break him out of that attack. Other than that, he'll also signal whenever he's getting ready to do a big attack, which is what he's doing right here. Whenever he goes to do that, just jump up and hang from one of the lamps to avoid that attack. I'd recommend weakening the lamp on the left. Don't actually break it down, but just weaken it. The lamp on the left has health in it, so you'll want that lamp to be weakened. In case you ever need emergency health, you can get it down really quickly. However, I'd recommend doing your best to not break down either one of the lamps. That way you can immediately dodge his big attack if he goes to do that. Makes things much easier if you have both lamps there, as you've seen right here. However, if you do need emergency health, then go ahead and break down the left lamp. But otherwise, try not to do that. The stage is actually not over once you've defeated the Shadow Boss. You'll still have a very little bit of ways to go. You'll have to avoid 3 electric beams, but that's it, not very much at all. The stage is practically over once you've defeated the Shadow Boss, but not quite. I really like that you see him shrink and then disappear whenever you defeated him. Just a nice effect, in my opinion. And just like that, Stage 6 is now down and out. Honestly, Stage 7 isn't any longer than Stage 6 is. Stage 7 is basically just a Battletoads-themed version of Stage 6. I kinda like the name of Level 7, Armageddon 2, the Rematch. Just kind of a cool name in my opinion. If there's one thing that I don't like about Battletoads and Double Dragon, it's that the final stage of the game doesn't have any unique music. They just use the music that you hear before each stage whenever the boss is taunting you. and I don't really think that that's very fitting for a final stage. I don't know, it's just my opinion. The next area can be kinda tricky after you dealt with these machines here. There will be 3 of those spacemen-like thugs, and 2 of them are really close together, so don't dash attack any of them or do your combo near any of them if there's another one nearby. Instead, try to let the spaceman-type enemies attack each other and then dash attack them one at a time. That seems to be the best strategy for this part. If there's one thing that I would have liked to have seen a little more of here in Battletoads and Double Dragon, it's more Battletoads-themed enemies. I mean, you don't really see the pigs anywhere that were from the first stage in the original Battletoads. I mean, I know that they were fairly weak enemies, but they could have made them stronger or gave them more health or something. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it would have been a little nice to see some more Battletoads-themed enemies. I always really like the faces that the Toads and the Dragons make whenever the bosses first show up, how their eyes bug out of their heads. That's just hilarious in my opinion. I love that. Time for the final battle of the game against the Dark Queen. While you're fighting the Dark Queen, you'll have this machine shooting out the crystal containers. They'll have your usual stuff, health, invincibility, points, and 1-ups, so open them if you want to. Why the Dark Queen has a machine that helps you right in her lair, I don't know, but hey, I'm not going to complain. Occasionally, the crystal containers can actually get in the way. Your main attack against the Dark Queen will be the dash attack, and sometimes if the crystal containers are right next to her whenever you go to a dash attack her, you might actually jump up and try to slam down onto the crystal container instead of dash attacking her, and sometimes that can mess you up, and that's not good. But most of the time the crystal containers do have helpful stuff in them. Throughout the battle with the Dark Queen, I'd recommend trying to stay away from her whenever she's moving around. If she hits you as the flame, she can potentially kill you in one hit because she'll follow you with the flame as you try to land, and she'll just keep hitting you until you're dead. It's kinda cheap, so do your best to avoid the flame. One way to get away from it quickly is the dash attack over, because you'll do a small hop and you'll get over the flame and it'll let you get a little bit of distance away from it as well. So keep that in mind. Basically, whenever she comes up from the flame, get a couple of dash attacks in if you can. Don't try to get too many, play more defensively than aggressively, because if you play too aggressively, you might bounce her into you and then she'll go into her flame and start attacking you right away. So be careful of that. She'll get faster and faster with the less amount of health that she has. Occasionally she won't come all the way out of the flame. Instead, sometimes she'll only come out of it about halfway, and other times just a very little bit. Keep an eye out for that, because that'll let you know where she's going to throw her fireball, and it will make it easier to avoid, because you'll know whether to jump over it or duck under it. And just like that, the Dark Queen is now down and out, and it's time to check out the ending. The music that plays throughout the ending is the same music that you hear before each stage while the boss is taunting you. I guess the game designers just really like that song. I mean, it's not a bad song, I guess, but we've heard it enough throughout the game already. Oh well though, not that big a deal. If you're a fan of beat-em-ups and you're looking for a challenge, I'd recommend this game. It's a really fun one. Admittedly, it's nowhere near as difficult as the original Battletoads, and in my opinion that's kind of a good thing. The original Battletoads was way hard. That's not to say that this one is easy, because it's not, but it's less difficult than the original for sure. It's got great gameplay, great music, and a fun co-op system if you want to play with a friend. This now concludes our no-death run through Battletoads and Double Dragon for the NES. I hope y'all enjoyed watching it and y'all know the drill. Comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching.